On tonight's episode of Chats with Chantla, we'll be talking with featured entrepreneur Sage Love, CEO and founder of Sage Love Productions. Welcome to another episode of Chats with Chantla. We have the amazing entrepreneur, Sage Love, CEO and founder of Sage Love Productions. How are you doing this evening, Sage?
I am doing outstanding, sis. How are you doing?
I am doing great. So excited for this collaboration. I can't wait to hear more about what you do so passionately in the film industry. So, a lot of people have been sharing, a lot of people have been anticipating hearing from you. So, we have our viewers that are going to be here tuning in and probably having some great questions for you as well that they're going to be dropping in the comments. But I want to start off this great conversation, first and foremost, before we even get into why you do film, how does it feel to see yourself in Times Square?
It felt amazing. I have to give the credit to my business partner, though, Chalky the King. I helped him produce that comedy film, right? And it won Best Comedy at the Mount Haven Film Festival, and then it premiered the comedy in on a billboard in Times Square. So I got to give thanks to my business partner, Chalky the King, because he brought me on the project, and we turned it into something great. A lot of people doubted the film, and that was for all the naysayers,
Absolutely. I thought that was amazing when you shared that. I was like, this is so great. And he's coming on Chats with Chantla, so we're going to hear more about his story. But a lot of people want to know, especially myself, why do you make films?
Why do I make film? That's I have several reasons why I make films. Like the first one is changing a narrative of our people in the limelight, right? Because we're not always painted in the best possible way. And I know that, film is a medium that can shift cultures, that can shift people's way of thinking about things, Going back, I don't mean to drop a little history, but going back to 19, I think it was 28. When the Birth of a Nation was screened at the White House, and the propaganda of how Black people was in that film, the resurgence of the KKK, and just they never burned the cross until they saw that film. So that film gave them representation to do what they're doing now. So, and the stereotypes that you see happening amongst Black folks today was due to that film that came out over 100 years ago. So to see how the propaganda is in that film, it came out so long ago, and that's one of the main reasons I do film. And the second being because I love it. You know what I mean? I love the medium. Film is the only medium that allows me to do everything that I want to do. I love writing. I love photography. I love visuals. And it allows me to meet different people, different people of all facets, so I love film because it brings all of that to me and more,
Absolutely. Thank you for that response. I just want you to know that you're like lagging, so you're freezing, but we can hear you, but your face is like freezing. So I just want to, in case giving you an opportunity if you wanted to improve that or not. So, but we're going to continue this amazing conversation. We want, people are watching, and as our viewers, thank you so much, Nia. She said, she's so proud of you and she wouldn't want to miss this. And so she was really excited about tuning in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that you dropped some knowledge on, the film industry and what inspired you to do what you do today. But also,
Right.
what type of films or filmmaking do you like?
I'm a griot. So a griot is a storyteller, right? Am I still lagging, by the way, or am I good now?
You are. We can hear you perfectly. It's just your visuals are lagging, but it's not stopping the voice though.
Okay.
So it's not stopping the conversation.
Okay, cool. I'm a griot, so a griot is a storyteller. That's what it means, right? So I'm a storyteller first, and then the type of films I make come second, right? So I love films of all genres. Like I love comedy, I love fiction, nonfiction, drama, horror. The story has to be good enough to pique my interest, right? And if it's good enough to pique my interest, I'm going to make it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But the films that I usually gravitate towards the most are plot twists. I love a good plot twist. I love to make people think. I love to give people an idea of where I'm going to take them and then completely switch it on them in the last minute. So I love that.
Yeah.
So I love making films like that. I'm going to continue to make more films like that, so Life's Work, Shadow.
I love a plot twist as well. It's, those cliffhangers that really keep you, drawn in every week. If you're watching like something that's reoccurring or just a film that you're sitting in your seat, you're like, oh my gosh, oh, I didn't know it was that person. So a lot is
exactly.
and the power of storytelling and how you portray it through your films. But Sage, what filmmakers inspired you to do what you do? So do you have any that you really look up to and feel like they're a great inspiration for the work and the passion that you do in this industry?
Yeah, of course. You have to throw good old Spike in there, right? But besides him, I'm drawn to filmmakers who are entrepreneurs. Filmmakers who are not just filmmakers, but they've added value to the game, and they've pushed the film industry forward in ways that that they came in with. That when they first came in, when they leave it now, like their legacy is marked forever in the game, right? So I'm drawn to filmmakers like that. Filmmakers like James Cameron, who created his own tech for Avatar. I don't know if you've seen Avatar with the blue.
One of my favorites.
You know what I mean? So those are the technology that that is used in Avatar. He helped pioneer that. Folks like George Lucas, Star Wars.
Right.
Like the stage in the studio. That he helped pioneer that, right? Steven Spielberg and Martin Scorsese, like those people helped pioneer the game, and they took it so further than when they came in. So I say that to say, me being an entrepreneur, I want to leave the same legacy to create a film industry for my people. Haitian people, African people from the diaspora, and I just want to leave my legacy and just pave it forward and just take it way further than how I came in.
Absolutely. So, I love that. I love everything that you said, especially about leaving legacy and so many films that we watch. And you named two of at least in this household, two favorites. I love Avatar. I reference Avatar a lot in its verbiage, and then also George Lucas. I know a lot of people, including my husband, that love Star Wars and just what he did, and it is a legacy. And then not just a legacy in what you watch and you pass down and share with your children or other family members, but it's a legacy in the way that they told stories and how they created film. So I think that is
Exactly.
definitely two amazing, James Cameron and George Lucas and Spike Lee. Absolutely. I mean, one of the first movies that I reference all the time in regards to my understanding of colorism and just being proud to be a Black woman with School Days, and I'm like, this taught me, it was history for me. Spike
Right.
Lee brought history for a young Black woman like myself at the time when I watched it to have a better understanding of who she was, because I wasn't depicted in a lot of the other films that I was watching. So Spike Lee definitely was, a pioneer to be able to show a lot of people of color different perspectives and life experiences, successes and struggles through the films that he was able to create.
And another thing about Spike, a lot of people don't give him credit for is he helped pioneered, films being films in the hood. You know what I mean? Films in our own neighborhood, right? Because he was doing it first. Do the Right Thing, when that first came out, when you first saw Do the Right Thing, and he made that in the 80s, he helped pioneered that new wave of filmmakers going back into their own neighborhoods to shoot things, right? After the success of Do the Right Thing, you started seeing movies like Boys in the Hood, Poetic Justice,
Right.
Dead Presidents, and just a plethora of just movies shot in our neighborhood, and a lot of people, he opened up that door for all of us to start making films like that. So, I always look at, filmmakers who pioneered the game and wasn't just considered filmmakers. You know what I mean? They
Right.
left something, So,
yeah, absolutely.
and
I agree with that.
and that's what I want to leave. And that's what I want to do as well too. Well, that's what I'm going to do actually. So
Absolutely. Speaking the already done, and Misty Rodriguez, who you actually worked with, said you're already doing it, King. And so I agree with Misty.
Yeah, I
And
love
she knows
Misty. That's family,
firsthand.
man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you all for joining in. We have some great people that are viewing and supporting you tonight. Sage, want to hear about your, entrepreneurship and your journey into entrepreneurship through filmmaking. But I also want to shout out everyone who is sharing this episode. So I've seen a couple people that have come down on the screen and show me that you're sharing. Thank you, Tamara, for sharing. Thank you, Catherine, for KP for sharing. Misty for sharing. So, if you're not putting comments, yeah, absolutely. If you're not putting comments, we want to acknowledge you in every way that we can. We're supporting. So Sage, again, he's here and he's just sharing his story in entrepreneurship. And sorry for over talking you, Sage, but what he was saying was share, 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 and make sure you get it out there. So we're going to continue this amazing conversation with, he is just building legacy. He's young. He's doing what is necessary. He's giving us a story that a lot of times Hollywood just doesn't do, and so I really appreciate all that you're doing. So I also want to know, we mentioned some movies that we've watched or have watched, or you've been inspired by some filmmakers such as James Cameron and then also George Lucas.
My bad. I forgot one other person. My fault.
Sure.
Francis Ford Coppola, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Throw that man in there, man.
Absolutely.
You don't know who that man is? Mr. Godfather. I'm gonna leave.
I was very saying. Mention who he is. Absolutely. You want to know what is really funny, Sage, that I found out, not because of my own knowledge. Actually, my husband told me, but Adrian from Rocky is actually his sister in real life. Yes, the woman who plays Adrian from Rocky is actually his sister in real life. And I didn't know Nicolas Cage is
Rocky's sister?
No, Francis Coppola, his sister in real life.
Okay. I was like, that's a little weird.
No,
Rocky,
absolutely, no. And also Nicolas Cage, I think, is his grandson or something like that. Uh,
Okay,
uh,
okay, okay.
yeah, so it's, you know, how these people are connected and they built legacy and opened the door for their family members. And we want to do the same for ours as well. So you mentioned some great films, The Godfather,
Yeah.
Do the Right Thing. What did you say?
No, I said that's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites.
Absolutely. I think it's a lot of people's favorites. But, you know, in regards to movies that you recently saw that you may have liked, share some with us that you may have watched recently that you were like, yeah, I like that. I liked how they took it that, you know, the plot that way and how the outcome of the movie was.
Some films I've seen so far.
Yeah, recently that you liked.
Um, uh, hmm. A lot. Okay. Oh, I've seen. I've recently seen. And it has mixed reviews. The Little Things by Denzel
Yeah,
Washington. I've seen that yesterday on HBO Max,
me too.
and I don't know why people are. Actually, I do know why people don't like it.
Mhm.
Actually, I do know why people don't like it.
Yeah,
Because
I did too.
yeah, I mean, for
Yeah.
me being a filmmaker, I love the movie. You know, I
Mhm.
thought it was a blast from the past, right? It felt like a '90s, '80s movie where it's slow and it's paced and it's like you're solving the mystery and
Right.
it's not fast, right? And um, in this day and age, in this generation, a lot of films are fast paced, quick
Mhm.
cuts, you know, action here, action there, and it's not, you know, it don't settle in. So this movie actually allow you to settle in, and it's slow and it's, you know what I mean, and it allows the characters to like really transform, and it makes you think. So I really like that movie actually. I don't want to spoil it for nobody. You know, that's why I'm talking so vague. It just
Yeah,
came out, so I don't want to spoil it for nobody. But if you're a movie buff, you will enjoy it, you know. So
absolutely.
I'm gonna see it again because there's certain things I know I missed. And
Mhm.
yeah, so I'm gonna go see it. I'm gonna see it again. I'm gonna see it
No,
again.
absolutely. I actually just watched it as well yesterday. So maybe we were on the same vibe, and I watched it yesterday as well. Um,
Hmm.
I think Denzel's just amazing. So mostly anytime I see his name in any title, I want to see it. And for those who do enjoy Denzel, he is also bringing his children into film because his daughter has a very small part, Olivia Washington, at the beginning. And so you'll get to peep her out as well. But they're making their entrance into Hollywood as well. And they have a great mentor and that's for film, you know, with their father and also other people. But also, you know, I just want to also ask the question because a lot of people, you know, are joining in. Chats with Chantla. Thank you for joining in and hearing from our featured entrepreneur, Sage Love. But Sage, what areas in regards to the type of films that you are going to make or making do you want to bring awareness to?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time. Your voice kind of like muffled a little bit.
Okay, sure. I said, what areas do you want to bring more awareness to when making your types of films?
Haitian cinema, point blank. You know, you don't see a lot of, since I'm Haitian and I'm a, uh, you know, I was born in Haiti, right? And my grandpa being the first emperor of Haiti, I'm related to Jacques Dessalines. I actually have a duty to fulfill on this planet before I leave. So again, back to legacy building, right?
Right.
um, and you know, and the goal is to, for me, is to pioneer Haitians in cinema. That is my area of focus. That's not my only area of focus for, in my production company, but that's the area that I I am currently building. You know, with like-minded Haitian entrepreneurs and filmmakers alike. Um, the reason that being is that you don't really see Haitians portrayed in cinema with proper representation, let alone you don't really see Haitians in cinema, period. Right.
Right.
Um, when I mean that, I don't mean to say that, oh, you know, an actor playing a a Haitian character. No, no, no. I'm talking about like an actual you know, um, film. You know what I mean? So like, and you don't really see it being highlighted enough around the globe, which is one of my missions to help pioneer that, right? Because there's a lot of great stories from the mainland, and there's a lot of great stories from Haitian Americans that I know, you know, um, and there's a lot of and speaking to different Haitians around the world. The stories that they tell me, I'm like, what? Like that's a movie that you're telling me. That's something that I wouldn't mind making. Speaking from Haitians from Brazil, Haitians from the UK, Haitians from Africa, and the stories that they tell me on a consistent basis is like there's a potential lane here, and the people that I'm working with, we want to pioneer that. So uh, I hope that answered that question.
I love that. I love that you want to make, films on Haitian heritage because it's necessary. It's one of those things that definitely get overlooked and, people aren't paying attention to. So it's going to take somebody to bring that to the forefront and make sure that other people are aware of the story and the power of storytelling in the
and it
Haitian
shouldn't
heritage.
and it shouldn't be overlooked because the story of Haitian people is an African story that you don't really get to see in the books that you read. It's the first, Black Republic to get its independence ever. You know what I mean? So it's
Mm,
like to leave us out would just be leave. It would just there wouldn't be no just revolutions that you see here in America without the Haitian Revolution, right? There wouldn't be no Nat Turner or your Frederick Douglasses or you know, uh, your Marcus Garveys, your Malcolm X, your Martin Luther King. There wouldn't be none of that without Haitians, getting their independence first and beating four superpower nations: Great
right.
Britain, the Spaniards, French, and America. So come on now.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that not only are you speaking about just like the meaning for it when it comes to you and who you are, but as a people and also just the history behind it all and how it all connects in what we hear from people we hear today, quotes it's, Black History Month. Thank you for kicking Black History Month off on Chantla as well, acknowledging the power and the skill sets and talents of people of color, not just for 28 days, but every day. We both are Black history every single day, 365, 24/7. And I think that, just speaking on some of the things you said about the history
Mm-hmm.
of the Haitian culture and how it has impacted us today. A lot of times people don't hear about it because that's not what we're hearing in history books. That's not what we're hearing about the successes. We're hearing so much about, other things, but not always about the successes and the influence on how Haiti has really been a factor in some of the ways that we, down to our food, down to dance, down to the way we speak, different things, um, every culture has an influence on who we are as a people today, and I think that's amazing. And as you can see on the screen, Tamara, she's giving you all kind of praises for acknowledging that, and I think that a lot more people are wanting to know more about that. Evolving from the one-sided history books that a lot of times people of color
Yeah,
don't get representation, and there's not enough Black and
can't leave
brown
us out, man.
representation.
I won't allow it. You can't leave us out.
Right, right. I absolutely, and it takes people like yourself and myself and other people as well to bring awareness for so many purposes, so that people want to be a part of it and learn more. It triggers one thought to another thought to another thought to an action. And what you're doing is you're bringing the power of storytelling from stories that were told down to you, also from your experience, And just bringing it to the film industry is just an amazing place for it to be. So
Right.
as we talk about you being, working passionately in the film industry, I would love to hear how you would describe your style as a director in film.
My style.
Yes.
Um, I would say my style in film is raw. Is very raw. um, it's an extension of myself. Just authenticity. Um, it's mixing both narrative and documentary style together, right? To form like a sense of realism. Um, it's crazy you say that because it's like I know it. I know it, but then at the same time, I'm always like figuring that out as I go along because I'm always learning new things and learning new ways of doing things, right? Uh, I do use a lot of montage um, in my movies to push the story forward. Um, I like to show I like to show a lot of scenery, a lot of scenery and people in my films, just a lot of life. I love to I have a lot of life in my films, if that makes sense. Like just
Mm-hmm.
natural, just people being in their natural element. I tend not to use music a lot. Not like in certain points I do, of course. But I tend not to use it a lot because I love sound, what I'm saying? And I love like, putting the correct sound design on a something I've shot to really let the film breathe,
Mm-hmm.
so it feels more real when you're watching it. And
Uh-huh.
then when you're listening, it just makes you feel like you've just been transported in that picture and shit. So like I would say that that's one of my main styles. you know um I could go on for days. I could
No,
go on for days.
I love it. I love that you say that because Misty, as we know, she worked with you, and she said, that you do such an amazing job with the natural elements in the scenery. I saw some of the pictures. I saw some of, the edits from her working with you when in Puerto Rico. But what
Yeah.
I also want to say is when you talk about sound, um, what I noticed is sometimes the music will trigger you to have an emotion before you actually see what's going to happen. So, if you hear that, like somebody's getting chased or something like that, but
Yeah.
it kind of dictates the feeling that you're going to have. So sometimes it's not as authentic as if you
Yeah,
were
because
to have it on your own.
you're absolutely right because like the reason why I say I'm raw in the style of film that I do is because like even down to like the music that I use in my films, I always incorporate the instrument, the real instrument. You know what I mean? Like so that it don't really feel robotic and it's being made on the computer. Like like I'm a person who loves jazz. I love music, so I love and I love. Sometimes I write to music. I write films to music, and I know where that music is gonna fit in the movie, right? And sometimes like when I'm writing a story, I I know what sounds is supposed to be in this particular scene, and I just know because it's like I have it in my head, and I just need to
Mhm.
connect with the right people to bring that out, right? So um for example, like the in the Haitian superhero movie that I'm producing, that I'm going to co-direct with my business partner Chalky the King, um like we're using like jazz elements to it, right?
Okay.
It's gonna look like a film noir in a way, and um, very dark, but yet like uplifting, right? So,
Mhm.
but we wanted it to feel a little jazz like. So instead of like creating a jazz beat, we brought in trumpet players and saxophone and
Wow.
real jazz musicians in the booth to record real sounds, so that like it don't you because your brain knows what a saxophone is supposed to sound like, and what
Mhm.
a and what a and what a what a trumpet is supposed to sound like. Your brain knows instruments already, right? So
Yeah.
like I brought in those people so you can actually hear it, real in real time. And I did the same thing with my other film, IT The Awakening, the documentary, where in certain parts I brought in a flute player. You know what I mean? That says like, so you're hearing the actual flute, and it's not robotic. It's not. It's real. And when you like put the right sounds and music together in the right image, it will transport you. When those lights come off and you in those movie theaters, you're watching it, it will
Mhm.
do something. It will do something to you. It will feel like you're actually there. So I always try to, I always want anything that I'm working on, my films to feel like that. Feel like for however long the movie is, if it's 1 hour, if it's 27 minutes, if it's, 3 hours, however long it is, I want you to be transported. Like, I want you to be like, oh, 3 hours passed already? I didn't know
Right.
that. That's what I want,
Absolutely.
you know?
And I know that
Yeah.
you're capable of doing it. So if you're just now joining in Chats with Chantla, we have the amazing featured entrepreneur, Sage Love, who is the CEO and founder of Sage Love Productions. He does so much film and documentaries, and he's just bringing such an awareness to us on the passion and the why that he does what he does in the film industry. So if you
The
have any
why, I like that.
questions, if you have any questions for Entrepreneur, please make sure that you just place your questions for Sage Love in the comments. But we do have a question, Sage. Thank you so much, Ashley, for sharing. And Makia, thank you so much for joining in, and everyone else. If you want me to shout you out, make sure you put a comment or you share so that we can see. We definitely want to make sure that recording chats with Chantla every Monday at 7. So Makia does have a question for you, and I think it's an amazing question. So I'm going to put it up on the screen, and then I'm going to read it. So she said, Sage Love, do you plan on putting a book out one day, or will you just continue to do film?
Um, yeah, I plan on doing that. Better yet, I was contemplating on doing a master class on independent filmmaking. So, if you want to be down with that, I was actually thinking about doing it in about a month,
Okay.
where like we meet every Friday via Zoom. It's like a package deal, and I teach you all things film and independent filmmaking, from financing to script writing to directing, all facets. We look at different films and we decode them and stuff. So I was actually thinking about doing that. So you kind of gave me that confirmation
I
tonight.
think that that's awesome. I think that
Mhm.
it would be great because there's so many people that do want to know more about film but don't know how to get started or don't have the direction. I know a lot of people probably utilize, Google and YouTube videos and things like that, but to actually get instruction from someone who's actually doing it would definitely be much more beneficial. So thank you so much, Makia, for that amazing question, and thank you so much, Sage, for that response. So I want to keep the conversation going because a lot of people are tuning in and they may have other questions for you. So if you do, make sure you place them in the comments and we'll get them on the screen. But when it comes to film or television, which one do you prefer and why?
Both. I feel like both of them is necessary. Um, if I was to, if we're talking about like what the the market is going towards right now is definitely television and streaming services, right? So, you got to lean towards what's, you know, the direction the market is going towards, right? So I would say, like, for now, television, right? Television, um, only because a television series allows you to grow with your character, your main characters, because they have different episodic episodes and seasons, and you're following this character's journey, and you're kind of necessary. You're kind of like living with them, so it feels like you know them personally, and it becomes more personal to you if that character, like, was to go through something tragic or passed away, or things of that nature, right? So for me, I feel like television really draws you in, but then a lot of people may not have the finances to produce, like, episodic things. So what you can do is make a film. That's where, like, I say both, because I was introduced to film. I was introduced
Right.
to film, so that's still my heart. But at the same time, you got to go with the flow of what's happening in the market. So and what the people want. And what the people are leaning towards is episodic television. People will binge watch things
Yeah.
in a day or two or three, and they want more. So yeah, paying attention to that. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we have some amazing questions in the comments. So I'm going to veer off of my standard questions that I would probably have asked you and get right to the audience and the viewers are really engaged. So I want to get their questions up on the screen and have you respond.
Thank you for
So
tuning in. Thank you for
absolutely,
tuning in, guys.
absolutely. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. Thank you for tuning in. Shout out to Michael. Shout out to Ashley. And also, thank you so much, Tamara. But Misty's question is, how do you prepare for your projects? Meaning mentally, spiritually. Do you do a lot of research? And if so, what does that research entail?
It depends on the project, and yes, I do. I do a lot of research, on the project, because essentially what you're doing is you're creating a world, right? You're creating a world for people to see, and if you're the creator of that world, you have to know everything that goes on within that project, right? That doesn't necessarily mean you have to get involved in every department, but I do feel like, if you really love the craft, your hands should be in everything, because you're the leading force, right? You're the one with the vision, So me, as a director, filmmaker, right? I'm always drawn to filmmakers who have their hand in every department.
Mm,
Not to say that, you're not gonna let the costume designer do what the costume designer do, but you should already bring an inspiration, a lookbook, something to give that give that department a direction, you know what I mean,
yeah.
to what your vision is supposed to entail or be, right? So for me, when I'm creating a film, I'm thinking about everything. Everything matters to me, everything down to the costumes, to the makeup, to the location, to the script, to the characters. I am fully invested in the totality of the project, and there's not one thing I don't know about. If I don't know, this is where me and my team and whoever I'm collaborating with find out for ourselves. We're on this journey together,
Yeah.
So, like, so if there's a question I don't know, and maybe my costume designer don't know, I love that we're doing research together, and we're operating in a synergy. We're kind of like reporters, like
Right.
trying to find the authenticity of the project, like if I'm doing a period piece, or like, the Harlem Renaissance, I want to know the lingo of that time. I want to know what they were
Mhm.
wearing. I want to to know the cars. I want to know, the slang, right? I want to know the politics of that time, right? I want to know just everything of that time. So research, and it's all about the preparation, because I spent a lot of time before we even pick up a camera. I spent a lot of time preparing,
Right.
preparing, so that like when we do pick up the camera, it's literally like, all right, get in your costume, makeup know what to do, costume designer know what to do, camera know what to do, everybody know what to do, and it's just, we're moving. We're moving.
Absolutely. So we have some more questions. Ashley wanted to know, since you mentioned the masterclass, how would our viewers get a hold of you regarding those classes if you're going when you get ready to do that next month? So we're challenging you and we're holding you accountable.
All right. The masterclass would be, $50 per class. We meet every Friday for 2 hours, right? You dedicate 2 hours. I promise you, dedicate 2 hours every week. That Friday, you're gonna learn a lot. 2 hours. I was thinking between 12 to like 2 o'clock. Park that window. And we're meeting every Friday for a month. So I said the class is 50, so that's $200 per person. I'm only accepting 6 or 7 people. The reason why I say 6 or 7 people, because I love intimate classrooms. I don't like big classrooms, So I love when the class is small, it's intimate. I get to answer everybody's questions. We get to talk, and it feels like a vibe.
Yeah.
So I want to maintain that small class, and if by any chance, you missed it, or for whatever reason you were stalling, and you see the success of the class going next month, you feel me? Act on it. I'm holding y'all accountable.
And so with
hold y'all accountable. If I do this, I better see a lot of people signing up for it.
Absolutely. So how would they reach out to you at your social media handle, or do you have an email address that people would need to reach out to?
Sage Love Productions. Sage Love Productions at gmail.com, to reach out to me if you're interested. And then, I'll put you down, and and then I'll throw a link in there. And again, I'm only accepting 6 or 7 people, so just let me know if you guys are interested. So you guys have to make the step, and reach out, and let's see what happens.
Absolutely. People are wanting it, so people are definitely speaking about it. So we do have another question, and I want to get to that question. It comes from our viewers, and so it comes from Michael, and he said that he would like to know, when you are in your creative space, what helps you start an idea on a new film or movie?
Say that one more time.
He said, when you are in your creative space, what helps you start an idea for a new movie or film?
That's the thing, right? Like, where are, I don't know who said that is
His name's Michael. He's actually my son.
Okay, is it okay? Is your son an artist?
He does. He draws, and he's very creative. Him and his siblings have always created since they were younger, so he may be asking for a personal reason. Absolutely.
So, okay, all right. Michael, you being an artist, you know what the creative process is like, right? You get inspired by everything. Everything inspires you. You see something and sparks something, and you got to write it down. At least for me, I like to write things down when I get an inspiration, because if I don't, things come in and out all the time. So when I get like a dope, really great idea, I always like to jot it down on my notes. I don't have a pen and paper because I'm old school, right? I like to jot it. I
Right.
like to jot it down in my notes on my phone. So just so I don't lose it, because that dope idea is source, God giving that to me. It's downloading information
Absolutely.
to me. So it's like I gotta write it down before I forget, because that's a potential idea that can transform lives, and and be prosperous. So I always like to write those down. But to answer your question, um I feel like music, because I'm very I go back to music. I'm very I meditate a lot. I meditate to music. I meditate to different sounds, different meditation sounds, right? I like to be very zen when I'm creating. I don't like to be overwhelmed with things. You know, of course, there's time and place for everything, right? So like when I'm in my creative zone, I don't like to think about business at all. Like I take that business hat off, right? And I just create. It's just me in my room or in my office in my artwork,
Mhm.
telling the story, you know, um, with my business partner Chalky, and I have a recorder on, and I'm just telling the story like first act. This is what's gonna happen. I'm literally just throwing up everything, and then I listen to
Right.
it back, and I'm like, okay, we have a movie now. I just got to put all that I just said in a screen in a script format, and just organize
Mhm.
them, right? So I like to record myself when I'm lecturing and when I'm like, verbally telling these stories. And then, Chalky is writing everything that I'm saying. And I'll do the same thing for him when he's saying. I'm jotting notes down. I'm like, that was a great idea. I like that. I
Right.
like that the character is doing. Ooh, and I write it down. We got music. We got music playing in the background. That's like hyping us. That's like really adding to the vibe. And it's just that's just the element that we're in.
Yeah.
Creating the environment that is going to foster our ideas and boost us even more. So music does that for us. And great vibes. I like to light some incense, some sage to clear the room. And I like to I'm in tune with all my five senses. So it's like,
Yeah.
I order some good food. I put on some good music. I like to smell great things. You feel me? I'm in tune with all my senses, and I make sure that all of them are working simultaneously when I'm in my creative process. So yeah.
Thank you. I love that response. Also, we have another question. You have a lot of questions that we have yet to get to. And this comes from
I love
Tamara.
it. I love it. I
I
love
love
it.
it too. And Tamara said, being in such a competitive industry, and as someone who is at the point of successfully creating content, do you ever doubt yourself? If so, what are some techniques that you use to combat having those feelings when you're doubting yourself?
Yes, doubt definitely creeps in. It definitely creeps in. When I'm in those times of in those times when I'm feeling really, really low on myself, I like to first of all, what I before I do that, like what I like to do is when I'm in my happy moment. Let's say like I just described my happy moment just now. I'm in a vibe. I'm with my business partner. I'm ordering great food. I'm eating. I'm writing. I'm in my zone. I'm listening to great music. One thing that I like to do is I like to write everything that I'm grateful for in that moment. I write
Mhm.
I write 10 things that I'm grateful for in that moment, because gratitude fosters change,
Yes,
and
yes,
it like
yes, absolutely.
it sparks you. So I write down everything that I'm grateful for in that moment. And what that do is remind you of your why. Why did you start doing it? Right? Why? Right? It's like when you're in that creative moment, you're like a child again. You know what I mean? You're fostering that creativity. Your imagination is going for you, right? So in that moment, you want to write everything that you're grateful for, right? So that when you're at your lowest spot, you read that. you read that, and and you think about that moment, and although you're upset or you're sad in that moment, it's gonna remind you of your why. It's going to remind you why you are doing this thing in the first place. Why did you commit to this in the first place, right? You
Right.
read it back to yourself. You go in the mirror, right? And you say it out loud to yourself. And then what I do after that, I put on some beats. And I lay down, I do nothing. You don't want to do anything, right? So don't force yourself if you don't want to do anything. The only thing you can do is just take it one day at a time, read what you're grateful for, and try to at least jot down 2 things that you're grateful for in that bad moment, when after you've done read what you're grateful for, saying it out loud to yourself in the mirror, putting on some good music, write down 2 things or 3 things you're grateful for in this moment, and just lay down. For me,
Yeah.
that's what I do. I lay down, and I just listen to music, and I put on some meditation music. I do my breathing exercises. You feel me? And then I don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's power in sitting still. Not every time, you're in a tough spot, you have to always do something.
Right.
It's okay not to do anything.
It's
Just
definitely okay to be quiet and relax.
it's okay to be quiet and just be quiet and just let it all pass, because that's what it is. A bad moment. It's not going to be here forever. So it's just letting the storm pass and just not doing,
Absolutely.
and you just have to. For me, I like to create the environment before it happens. So if I'm creating an environment that is positive and have great affirmations on my wall, and when those bad moments happen, it is bad, but it's not so bad, because I have everywhere I'm looking, there's affirmation, there's positivity that's like fostering that, so
Absolutely.
yeah.
I love that. And she said, that she loves the sound of that. It's a great technique, and thank you so much for sharing. And
Mhm.
also, Michael said, "Oh, he's feeling that drip too. He really appreciated that." Also,
Oh, wait, you doing the what?
he said, "Oh, he's feeling the drip too, like your whole,
Oh, thank you, man.
vibe, your whole outfit."
I
Um,
don't have a bad outfit to my name, man. You feel me? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
I love that. I love that. Also, I love that Misty said, letting the universe speak to you. Your soul already knows what it needs to do, so it just happens, and it's just going organically with what is written
Yeah.
for you. Also, we have another question. So I definitely want to
You're
get
not even
to it.
gonna get time to say your questions, Sean.
You know what? This is what it's about. It's totally fine, because this is what I feel like when our audience is engaging, you definitely want
Yeah.
to support it, because they have some things that I'm learning, and a lot of the questions that I would have asked you are coming out of their questions. So this is a true collaboration. This is what Chats at Chantla is all about. We're here to build, connect, and collaborate together with the featured entrepreneur and those who watch and support it every week. So this is a beautiful part of the synergy that's happening on tonight's episode. So thank you for bringing that, because you are responsible, because they want to hear more from you and ask their questions. So another question is from April Jackson, and she said, "I know that there's probably give and take to get projects into fruition. What is something or things you won't compromise on to get your films to public?"
Ooh, that is a beautiful question.
Right.
Oh man, yes, yes. Who are you, April? April, you are who? April, April. That is a beautiful question, April. What will I not compromise? First of all, I will not compromise the integrity of the project. That that is a no-no for me. You know, I will not compromise the integrity of the project, the culture of that project, right? Meaning, like, if I'm embarking on telling a story about a particular group of people, right? Um, Sometimes investors might come and be like, they might have an idea of what that particular group, of people go through, right? And so they might throw in some stuff that they don't even go through, right? And then me doing my research, talking to those group of people every single day, and having a knowledge that that person don't have. I'm like, I'm not gonna compromise that, because compromising that would be compromising the film, compromising the
Right.
audience that I'm building for the film. So why would I do that? That don't make no sense. Like, you read a book about the people, and I'm talking to the people. We're different,
Mm,
different things. I'm learning about real experiences that I'm actually going to put in the film while you're reading about them. That don't
right.
make sense. you know?
I
So,
love that.
not compromising the integrity, not compromising the culture, and also not compromising the story. You know, um, not compromising the story. Because I'm a firm believer, right? Why reinvent the wheel when it's working?
Mm,
There's a reason why you signed to do the project with me. Why change it now? Unless that wasn't your intention from the beginning. You know what I mean? So, like, for that's a no for me, and that's things I will fight, and believe me or not, the film I won't be involved in it. The film is still might get produced, but I'm taking my name off of that, because that's not what I signed up for. You know what I
wow.
mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, the movie might still be out there, but if my needs aren't being met based on those three things, then my name won't be attached to it anymore.
Mhm.
Because it's still the integrity, and the integrity of the project is not the integrity of my brand. You know what I'm saying? So, and your brand is everything. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, and if your brand is all about Black representation for the majority, I don't call us minorities, we're the majority, right? If it's not the intention of the majority, then my name won't be attached to that, because that's not what we go through every day. That thing that you're trying to make, that's not what I know, the real. It's not what we go through. So yeah, you still make it,
Absolutely.
but don't put Sage Love Production or Sage Love or whoever I'm associated with in that project, because I don't want nothing to do with that. So yeah.
I love that question. April, thank you so much. April says thank you for your response. And I love how you responded about how, keeping integrity is key. And also I love how what you compromise on is not just you compromising that present project, but as you said, you're compromising your brand, you're compromising who you are. There's so much that you're
Right.
compromising in, and the authenticity that you're trying to give to your audience that follows you day in and day out and supports you on new films and documentaries. If you start compromising, you're going to be compromising the relationship that you built with them through, the films that you've done and the documentary and the work
Exactly.
that you've done. That you're going to be losing more than just the present thing that you're doing. So I
Exactly.
think these have been some amazing questions. Sage, how about you?
I love the engagement that we're getting. I love it. It's as you said, it's a collaboration with me, you, and the people.
Right.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Without support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So, some
right,
people may be like, well, if you have questions, why aren't you asking? This is what's important to me. This is about building relationships. This is how we connect people through words and storytelling. And then also collaboration is very important. When you
right,
collaborate, you're able to support, you're able to bring more awareness, you're able to be a mouthpiece because you are tuning into Chats with Chantla with hearing from our featured entrepreneur, Sage Love, who is the CEO and founder of Sage Love Productions. So, Sage, I do have a question that I want to ask because I think that this will also pull a lot of people into having a better understanding of why you do what you do. I know you shared with me when we were speaking that, a lot of people had a lot of influence on you when you were a child, but there's somebody that is very important to you that definitely has an influence on you. So tell us a story about your childhood that involves the reason why you do film that really resonates with you today.
my grandpa, rest in peace. He passed away last year during the pandemic, and he he put the seed in my brain to do film, honestly, without me actually realizing it, because and he put the seed in my brain to be an entrepreneur as well too. Again, without even me realizing it, until I had to go back and realize, wow, like this is where it started, you know. My grandpa, um he wanted to open up a cinema in Haiti, and I was always watching films with him when I was little, and and we was watching a whole bunch of films. He would send me to the store to get VHS tapes, blank VHS tapes, and when I got older, DVDs started being a thing, so I got blank DVDs and shit and stuff like that. And we was always recording movies on television, you know, for the simple fact of bringing it back to Haiti one day, opening up that cinema to show to the people. You know, we would watch all types of movies, you know, 90s movies, American movies, Haitian movies, kung fu movies, action flicks. You know, at the time when I was little, my favorite movies was action flicks and like kung fu movies. You know, cheesy kung fu movies. The ones where like the one where like, you know, the dubs are so ridiculous. The voiceovers.
Yes.
I always loved those movies, you know. And you know, that kind of fostered the entrepreneur side of me, fostered because I was going out buying VHS tapes, buying, you know, things and bringing it back to the house, and recording the movies for him either when he was at work or when we was together, you know, and then just enjoying just movies, right? And then, you know, you grow up and you start doing your own thing. You realize, you know, you think you're interested in one thing else, you know, started playing basketball and doing other things and stuff. And then was in high school and you know, picked up a camera for the first time because I was doing journalism. I was doing journalism for my school. So a lot of the research that I do for film comes from my journalistic background because I know how to do proper research for things. So I just included that knowledge into, like, you know, different cultures and things that I want to learn about people and stuff like that. So I'm accurate when I'm making films, right? So so I started taking pictures, realized I really, really love it. and then one day, when I was a senior, I needed one elective to graduate, and it was between art and film, and you know, I was like, I'm gonna pick film because if we're just gonna watch movies all day, that's all I gotta do to graduate. Okay, cool. I'm gonna just do that. So I did that, and my grandpa's favorite movie was The Godfather. I hated it. I hated it when I was little. I didn't understand it. Couldn't grasp what's going on. It was too long. There was no action. There was nothing going on, right? For me when I was little. Then, you know, haven't seen The Godfather in such a long time. Didn't even remember it. I just remember the name. And now my grandpa loved it. And then, you know, at the time, I think I was like 16, 17. Right? 16? Yeah, 16, 17, and senior in high school. And we put The Godfather on and we watched it. And I was just like, wow, I was blown away by it, you know, because 16-year-old me versus 8-year-old me watching it, you know?
A lot changed.
A lot changed, right? So I loved it. But then the thing that got me into making films was the first time, like in that class specifically, when we watched a film, he would show us the behind the scenes of how the film was made. And I remember me enjoying watching that more than the film itself. So when I saw that there was a lot of people behind the scenes, I finally understood why credits was a thing in movies.
Right.
And, you know, some of the scenes I really enjoyed in The Godfather, I listen to Francis Ford Coppola, the director and producer of the film, talking about it, and writing that scene, and the actors ad-libbing and doing their own thing on the set, and just that wasn't even script. And the cat that in the movie was like, that wasn't even in the script. It was a cat that was roaming around the set. They thought it was cool, so they picked it up, and it was like, hey Marlon, we just seen petting the cat. That was cool to me. Like that, like little things like that was just
right.
I remember like seeing that. I was like, that's pretty cool. You're the boss and you have a cat. That's very eerie. That's very like,
yeah, absolutely. I forgot about that until you just said it.
Having him talk about that and saying, I didn't write that. It was a cat roaming around the set, and we just picked it up and we just told him to pet it, and it really liked Marlon, and then Marlon really liked it, and he started talking and did this monologue and all that stuff. I was like, that's pretty cool. So that I remember just in that class, and then just being hooked on that, and then we had to make our own film, and that was it for me. I did my first ever film in that class. You guys will never see that. It's so bad. But did that, and then and that kind of pretty much started the career. But what really started it was the death of Trayvon Martin, because that's what catapulted me into like making films that really matters. So
absolutely.
So that kind of like made me like, I took it more seriously after that, because around that time I was just getting into film, not even in the business, just the art of making films.
Yes.
And then around that time was 2012. Around that time was the Trayvon Martin thing. I was graduating high school, so that means I was out in the real world for the first time. I wasn't being baby anymore in high school. Like there was no safety net. I was going to college and stuff.
Right.
I was seeing the world for what it really was, and then it was just like, man, like
yeah.
And so ugly out there. The world is ugly out there.
It is.
I want to change that. That was the first time I said it to myself. Like, I actually want to change that, and I want to do that through this newfound media, this newfound love that I have. So I was just doing tons of research about stuff, and just and I made a film called The Trayvon Martin Experience, and that kind of took my career off. It was seen around the world, got accepted to like 13 festivals and stuff, and won like 5 awards and stuff like that. And this was just
wow,
the fourth film I ever made in my life.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. There are so many people that are watching that want to know how to connect with you. So we want to help you. We want to support you. We want to continue, learning more about the stories that you're putting in film. We definitely think that you're creating an amazing legacy. You're bringing heritage to Haiti heritage to films. Just the life experience that you've shared, how you've responded to a lot of things in the climate of this country. But people want to connect with you, to support you, to follow you, to get connected with the masterclass that you talked about. So what are your social media handles for our viewers that they can connect to you with?
Can I type on this, or?
I have some of them. So I know on Facebook and Instagram, you're at Sage Love. Yeah, you can type in a comment. Yeah, I think you can type in the comment as well. Absolutely.
Oh, cool. So I'll do that right now.
So we have Sage Love on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to reach him, you can also reach him at Sage Love with the number 3 instead of the E at gmail.com. And also we can do Sage Love Productions at Gmail. So definitely you can get all that information from him there. So Makia said thank you for that, because they're communicating in the comments as well to get connected to you. And Ashley, thank you so much for being able to share that with us as well in the comments. So if you did not get it, it is Sage Love for Facebook and Instagram. And you want to connect with him at sageloveproductions at gmail.com for the masterclass. And also just to make sure you're staying in touch with him and supporting him. You saw Sage Love here first on Chats with Chantla. I know it's already in the makings of something changing. So the next time you see him, he'll probably be on a bigger stage and a bigger platform. So I'm just so grateful for him gracing the platform tonight and sharing his story into entrepreneurship, and also just giving us a lot of inspiration, motivation, and drive that aspires us to take the leap and to step out as an entrepreneur ourselves. But Sage, I want to give you the opportunity to share some final thoughts with our viewers tonight. So just give them some encouraging words that will keep them motivated to keep moving forward.
I would say one thing as a creative we want to do is whatever dream or passion or anything that you want to do, go for it without a safety net. Jump. Don't be afraid to leap. Don't be afraid to trust in yourself. I'm not telling you to quit your job right now and just, I want you to create a plan for yourself. Like, for the next 5 years, this is what I want to do. I want you to commit to that. Matter of fact, not even 5 years. Like, commit to the next 6 months. Do something that you really are passionate about doing. Take it one day at a time, and you'll surprise yourself on how well you manifest, the things that you want, and commit. It's all about commitment. It's all about discipline. It's all about just trusting yourself and not compromising your gifts no matter what. So don't compromise your gift. Always stay consistent. Always be disciplined with yourself, and be honest with yourself on where you at right now and where you want to go, and start making the steps. Don't skip steps. You don't want to skip steps.
Sage, I think the words that you said are first of all, I love when you said like disappear. If that means, investing in yourself, building yourself, that means maybe disappearing, taking, a step away so that,
Yep.
When you come back, you have things in order, you're making yourself a priority. A lot of times I think we're afraid to do that. So I think your final thoughts for our viewers were definitely inspiring. Also, I just want you to know that you kicked off kind of what seems to be kind of like a film industry first half of the month for Chats with Chantla, because I want to share with you and also our viewers who's going to be on Chats with Chantla next week. So I'm going to take a quick break before I conclude our beautiful collaboration.
Coming up next week on Chats with Chantla is Payne the Poet. He recently starred in a Nate Parker film, American Skin.
So next week, we're going to have Payne the Poet, who actually played in American Skin, that's streaming on Amazon Prime right now.
Say that again. Sorry.
Payne the Poet is going to be on Chats with Chantla next week, and he starred in American Skin, that's streaming on Amazon Prime. So he's going to share his experience in that film, but he is so much more than an actor. He's a poet as well. He's doing phenomenal work, and so he's going to be on Chats with Chantla next week. But Sage, it has been such an amazing collaboration. I'm so grateful that you said yes. I think what you're doing and what we already know is God's history for your life going to be done. And I think just all the awards and all the accolades and all the things that are coming down the pipeline for you are just the beginning. So thank you so much for gracing the platform tonight and sharing this stage with me and sharing your story and inspiring myself and also our viewers through your story of entrepreneurship and how important it is to you. So thank you again for joining Chats with Chantla. It's been such a beautiful collaboration.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you for the platform. I appreciate you for, giving the platform for entrepreneurs to speak. You're really pioneering something yourself. So, you got to give yourself credit too. And I'm giving you that credit, So thank you.
Absolutely. So it has been a pleasure, Sage. And thank you all for watching another episode of Chats with Chantla. We'll see you next week. Thanks.
Peace.